This is 5 Live Formula One with Jenny Gow.
And it's time for qualifying for the Belgian Grand Prix, round 14 of the Formula One World Championship. And I have to say, we have a delay to proceedings. One of the support races ended a little bit dramatically with a car in the barrier, and they're having to replace that little bit of barrier. So whilst we wait, I'm delighted to say we have Jack Nicholls and Sam Bird alongside me to chat all things Formula One. Let's start, whilst we wait for clarity about exactly when this qualifying session will begin, by talking about the 7 drivers who face a grid penalty, Jack Nicholls.
Yeah, you can list them if you want.
I will do. Shall I do that now?
Yeah.
Okay, it's going to be a tough day in the office for Zhou Guanyu, Schumacher, Norris, Ocon, Leclerc, Verstappen, and a slightly tough day in the office for Bottas, who has a 15-place grid penalty, so it means he will probably start in P14, and then the others can fight it out behind.
And that's further. That was higher up the order than he finished FP3, so maybe Bottas is in for a good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's going to be fascinating to watch all of those people starting from the back of the grid, coming through the order, especially Leclerc and Verstappen. And look, obviously it's a big dent in Leclerc's title hopes, but there have been bigger dents over the course of the year so far, and the 80 points is a pretty big dent anyway. So what can he do coming back through the field? Who will start ahead out of the two of them is going to be an interesting question as well. I'm fairly optimistic this delay isn't going to be very long. It looked like they've pretty much finished repairing the barrier, so I'm fairly confident that we won't be in for too much of a delay here.
Funnily enough, I'm more pessimistic. But there we go. Let's see which one of us rules out. 15 degrees at the track at the moment. Track temperature is 20 degrees, 80% humidity. There's clouds swirling around. The fog's looking pretty low at the moment. And Sam, if you take it that Bottas starts P14, the others will shuffle in behind, depending on where they qualify. How hard are these drivers, the 7 drivers who have these penalties, going to really try?
We're going to find out very soon, Jenny. I still think that the likes of Leclerc and Verstappen are going to want to go out there and put on a good show. Both of them would have realistically been locking out the front row, to be honest, wouldn't they? As for the rest of them, I think they will maybe use this potentially as an extra test session for race trim, potentially.
It's a valid point. Yeah, Charles Leclerc span out of free practice 3 through the gravel at pit path. Don't think there's major damage to that car. We haven't heard anything from Ferrari, but Jack, there has been a little tomfoolery probably isn't the right word, but Ferrari have tried to find a loophole in the rules when it comes to replacing engine parts, and a very long FIA document was delivered in between this session and the last, saying nice try but nah.
Yeah, well there's because there was a point, wasn't there, years ago, where you could take 2 new engines or 3 new engines and stick them in your pool and only take the grid penalty once, and that's what we had with the whole 50-60 place grid penalties from back in the day. Was teams being like, well, if we're going to get a back of the grid penalty, let's take 3 engines in the pool and get sent all the way to the back. So yeah, Ferrari have tried their luck a little. It hasn't, but they're still going to be at the back of the grid. It's still, it's one of those things where so much of this would be way more notable and controversial if the championship fight was still going on. You know, if they were level on points this weekend and Ferrari had tried this, you'd be like, oh wow, this is a big thing, this is all they've tried it, is that fair, is that not fair? But in this circumstance, it's like, okay, good effort, hasn't worked out, nothing really changes, you know.
Next.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So Sergio Perez, Sam, looked in really fine form earlier on today in practice, and the door's open, isn't it, for him?
Yeah, the door is open. With Sergio, you say he was in fine form. He's done 1 really good lap all weekend. The rest of it has been...
You're harsh.
I'm not being harsh, but it's not been... He's not been right up there in in any of the free practices really until the last one. He put the fastest lap in the last one, but I wouldn't say fine form. Okay, that will give him a lot of confidence going into this session, and he, in my opinion, is in the fastest car. So I think it's his to lose potentially. And I think that it should be a fight between him and Carlos Sainz for pole position today. Bearing in mind, Max Verstappen can still get pole position, but he will be starting at the back.
I think that's absolutely correct. I think that Perez hadn't been anywhere near the pace all weekend, hasn't been for the last few Grand Prix, but suddenly was a tenth or so quicker than Verstappen this morning. Now, again, how hard was Verstappen pushing in all of this, because he knows that qualifying isn't utterly imperative. We'll wait and see, but I think Perez has to be favourite for pole, and Ferrari look a bit adrift here.
Delay still going on if you've just tuned in for qualifying, expecting a sync point. There is no action on track at the moment. It looks like the barrier has now been repaired. It was crashed into in the earlier support race in Porsche Super Cup. So final checks going on down there, and as soon as we get a start time for the session, we'll let you know. In the meantime, I thought we'd just talk the driver transfer market at the moment, because it has gone full silly season after Alonso said he was out of Alpine. So Marcus Ericsson, friend of the show, has been on social media, and he was saying that, and this is on the 1st of August, he tweeted this. He was saying he reckoned it would be at Alpine, Ocon and Gasly, AlphaTauri would be Schumacher, Tsunoda, McLaren, Norris, Piastri, Alfa Romeo, Bottas, Zhou, Haas, Magnussen, Ricciardo, and Williams, Albon and De Vries.
Read that. So this is 1st of August. This is a month ago.
So it was directly after Alonso had said, I'm out. So
okay.
after Alonso had said, I'm out, his order is, at Alpine, it would be Ocon, Gasly. So Gasly, the mover to Alpine in his mind. Schumacher, Tsunoda, so Schumacher going from Haas to AlphaTauri. McLaren will be Norris, Piastri. Alfa Romeo, Bottas and Zhou, so no change there. Haas, Magnussen and Ricciardo. And Williams, Albon and De Vries. Discuss. And if you want to have your say, then either find Marcus Ericsson's message and use that and put hashtag BBCF1 on what you think will happen.
I mean, so it all sort of makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, he's...
Well, Gasly's signed up at AlphaTauri, so I think he's
back in the mix, apparently.
Do we think?
Yeah,
back in the mix.
Piastri,
really?
I think an all-French lineup at a French team with someone like Gasly makes a lot of sense. And yes, contractually, there'd have to be a bit of wiggly woos, but we know can be done.
And then who's he? And he reckons that Mick Schumacher will go to AlphaTauri. Nah, Marcus, come on.
Sam?
Ferrari young driver joins the Red Bull young driver team.
If not released from Ferrari program?
I don't think that's the worst list I've ever seen, to be honest. Quite a bit of it makes sense to me.
What's the other one?
De Vries in at Williams and Ricciardo to Haas.
Maybe Ricciardo to Haas. Yeah, it's all right, but yeah. I'm just not quite buying a lot of it.
I think for the 1st of August prediction.
Oh, no, fair play.
Strong.
Ericsson, fair play.
Not put himself in there at all.
Well, he's too busy trying to win the IndyCar title with Ganassi.
Doing a good job.
He is. He's not too far off the 17 points off the championship lead or something like that, I think.
Yeah,
after...
And with an Indy 500 win under his belt this year, it's not bad.
Not too bad at all.
I
was on his pit wall in Nashville.
Was that cool?
It was really cool in the IndyCar race. Like listening to the engineers talking to him. It's the coolest thing I've ever done.
Did you get a very different perspective from what has been? I mean, you've had a lifelong love for motorsport, but to be involved in that and listen to that much access, did that change your mind on anything? Did it reinvigorate your enthusiasm for American driving?
No, I don't think it didn't reinvigorate. It was just really cool thing to actually sort of physically experience, because you hear all these radio communications, subsequently when, team radio clips are released and stuff like that. But just to be on the pit and watching all the information they have is just amazing. And like one of the amazing things was the engine technician, because Ericsson got hit by, I think it was Herta. He had a thing with Grosjean and then got hit from behind, and it broke the gearbox sort of like instantly. And instantly, I was standing next to the engine guy, and all his things started flashing, and he was immediately on the radio to the engineers saying, fail to, or shift to, or you can't shift, or whatever. And the speed at which all these decisions were made on the pit wall was the remarkable thing. I presume it wasn't like being on the Ferrari pit wall.
Oh!
I'm joking.
It was a team in red, just not that.
Exactly. But no, it was super cool. But anyway, my point being, cool guy Ericsson. I think it's not too bad for a 1st of August prediction, to be fair.
Pretty good. Okay, we still have a delay to the start of qualifying. Lewis Hamilton currently at the back of the garage at Mercedes, just shooting the breeze, having a chat. He had some good time in the summer. What a trip he took.
Yeah, that looked unbelievable, didn't it?
Went to Africa.
Yeah.
And kind of went and found his roots, and there was a group of 4 or 5 of them that just headed off and...
To where, sorry?
Namibia.
To Namibia?
They did a little tour of Africa, and it just, if you haven't had a chance to have a look on his socials, he's put together little films, and he went with the fencer. That's his tag on Instagram. He's a UK fencing specialist for the Olympics and stuff. And it just looked absolutely incredible. When he first announced that he was going back to Namibia for to kind of find his roots and heritage, I wondered if he was taking part in the BBC show that they do where they go back and find out about...
Who do you think you are?
Yeah, but no.
He wasn't.
Which is a shame. He'd be a brilliant subject for that.
Yeah, I did.
It looked very cool. But he definitely he's good at taking breaks. Like, sometimes he just goes off and trains intensively. Not this time. He went off and had a really, really solid break. What's the best break you've ever had from motorsport? Because it's, for a driver, it's full on, isn't it? When you're actually competing in season, not much let up.
Best break I've ever had. I don't know. I've had some nice holidays. I wouldn't necessarily have had a nice...
Have you not done anything extraordinary with your time off?
Well, recently, no. I've been recovering from a broken hand.
Well, that's true.
I have been skydiving, but I went on a stag do in America one time, and then the only other time I did it was my first time was with Michael Schumacher in Montreal. So that was cool, but
not in the break.
No. That was on the Friday of the Grand Prix. Yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing insurance claims left, right, and centre for that.
No. So we arrived in Montreal, and we were checking into the hotel. Got into my room, and my phone rang, and it was Michael, and he said, "What are you doing tomorrow morning?" And I said, "Well, look, I'm in the car with you, so we're going to go to the circuit together." He said, yeah, but we're not going till later. Don't worry. You're coming skydiving with me. We leave at 7 in the morning, and put the phone down. So, and you're not going to say no to Michael Schumacher. It's not going to happen.
Have you ever done anything like that before?
No, never. I was terrified. But I wasn't going to let on I was terrified. But anyway, I did it, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. Like, to be up there with him, to be up there with my hero, it was pretty cool.
Did he push you out, or did you jump?
No, I was strapped to somebody. He was like really good at it, so he did it on his own. And I've got the film of it at home. I've got the CD. So he bought me the CD. Like, he paid for somebody to film it. It was really cool.
That's cute.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. Good guy.
Good memories. Drivers are beginning to suit up, although we still don't have a time for this session to begin. If you've just joined us, qualifying will be delayed. 20 cars out on track when they do eventually get there. 7 of the drivers with grid penalties, which means there'll be 13 really fighting it out to try and get pole position. And I think many people split with who they think will be the man to start on the front row of the grid tomorrow. Will it be Sainz? Will it be Perez? Is it as easy as that? Is it a 50-50 call?
No, I think it's a 1-in-1 call. I think it's Perez. I can't like. I hope Sainz can pull something out, and we have a nice race tomorrow between Sainz and Perez. But the pace that Red Bull have had over the course of the weekend so far has been really startling. Max Verstappen did his usual trick of just cracking on with it yesterday in FP1 and was 2.2 seconds quicker than the rest of the field sort of the whole time, which was quite something. But I think Perez, as we said earlier, kind of found his form. So I think it's going to be interesting to see whether he can pull it off and secure that pole position, because he's already had a pole this year, hasn't he?
They've both had one pole apiece, one at Silverstone for Sainz, and then Perez had his pole at Saudi.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia, in only the second race of the season. So I think that's going to be strong. I'm really interested to see what the Williams can do, because Albon, in the end, in FP3, they didn't look particularly mesmerising. 13th and 14th for Latifi and for Albon, but Albon had been 4 tenths quicker over the course of the weekend, didn't do a run on the second set of soft tyres. So if you take away that 4 tenths, suddenly he was ninth quickest, hypothetically speaking. So I think there's a real chance that Albon can be up there and mixing it. Start of qualifying will now be at 16:25 local time. So 15 minutes until qualifying gets underway for the Belgian Grand Prix. There was a incident in qualifying for the Porsche Super Cup session when Harry King had a collision with Howard Blank, and Howard Blank ended up in the barriers on the run towards Piff Paff, and he went straight into the Armco, basically bent the Armco, so the Armco barrier needed replacing. It was quite an unusual place to have an off there, to be honest. It only really comes with contact. It was the corner actually that Charles Leclerc went off at earlier on today, and that was an interesting moment from Leclerc as he skated through the gravel and ended up tapping the wall. Doesn't really matter because he's starting at the back of the grid, etc., etc. But he does have those moments in him.
He's been really using every single millimetre of the circuit going into Piff Paff and then going into the next right-hander. Every time he goes through there, you see a big kick up of dust on the entry to the corner. And I think that he's just tried to turn in with too much speed while on a curb. It's unsettled the rear. He's then had an oversteer, caught it, and now that there's gravel on the exit of the corner, there's nowhere to hide. When you're going through the gravel, you lose control of the car, and in the wall you go.
Yeah, quite a lot of changes to the runoff around this Spa circuit. There is gravel now on the exit of La Source at turn 1. There's much wider runoff areas at Eau Rouge and Radion. There is gravel on the exit of Bruxelles, and there are cheers from the fans on the bank at Puan, I think they are at. There's Mexican waves going on around the circuit. Great to see that it's absolutely rammed. And many of you listening in as well. Alison is watching from the Gold 4 grandstand, which is down at Eau Rouge. Brendan is on the bank at Puan. Says, come to the Belgian Grand Prix. They said it will be hot. Hashtag freezing. Brendan, I mean, maybe you didn't watch the race last year. Sunny skies is not what Spa is necessarily famous for, but hope you have a good weekend. Paul is watching from Gold 2 grandstand, which is on the exit of La Source, looking down towards Eau Rouge, and Alex is at Bruxelles, and he's got some cover. He's fairly smug, Alex Withington, about his cover, so he's happy if it rains. But I don't think we're expecting any rain at the moment. Risk of rain is 30%, so I would be surprised if we get some rain, but we'll see. The circuit itself has not changed barely at all. They've actually added an interesting little sort of inside line at Speaker's Corner to help with to make it more appropriate for motorbike racing, but the original corner stays there as well, Jenny.
They've done quite a lot of resurfacing.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that has changed. I can't remember exactly how many kilometres or how many metres that they've... I'm desperately scrolling back in my messages to try and find out how many metres they've resurfaced. Give me 2 secs, because I'm sure this is the news you're waiting for. And I'll try and find it.
Do you want us to fill, or should we just have silence while you find it?
I always think radio silence is a little overrated. And it also sometimes, if you work for a station, it kicks into the emergency tape. And it always used to play the first song on the ABBA multi-mix for me. So it's not a good place to be.
I think radio silence is underrated personally, but then I'm a bit lazy. 10 minutes to go until the start of qualifying. Fernando Alonso leaning on the workbench at the back of the garage, staring steadfastly forward as it gets quite cloudy actually over the pit lane area and up at La Source, but we're not expecting a huge amount of rain or a particularly rain affected session. What I am wondering is how much of this Spa circuit has been resurfaced in the last year or so.
Quite a lot, it turns out, actually. They've resurfaced the track at turns 2 and 4, turns 8 and 9 as well, with the bumps removed and an increased level of grip. That's what they thought anyway. However, many of the teams reporting last night that they felt there had not been an increased level of grip. In fact, it was greener than ever, but we had rain.
Yeah, well, 2 to 4 grip is not, because it's kind of flat out up through Eau Rouge, so I guess that's not a huge, and that's where they did all of the work. And then 8 and 9 is where I was referencing earlier at Speaker's Corner, and that's where they've put the new corner in, basically. So a little bit of track surface change, and it can make a big difference. New track surface.
Yeah, it can. It's all good and well, thinking that we're going to lay new tarmac, and therefore there's going to be a lot more grip, and it doesn't necessarily always work like that. In order for the new tarmac to be made, obviously there's a lot of materials that go involved and a lot of oils that go involved. The oil can then rise up out of the tarmac and basically produce a very slick tarmac on the surface. So then you actually lose grip the first time it's used. So if the track hasn't been used a few times prior to Formula One being here, it can give off actually less grip. Then the next time they come, it could give off more grip.
Turkey, a couple of years ago, didn't they resurface Turkey, I think, and then there was absolutely zero
It was
grip.
like an ice rink.
Yeah, absolutely. Max Verstappen is now sitting at the wheel of his Red Bull. He's just getting his drinks connected and radio connected and everything else connected to the hands device on his left-hand shoulder, and then they will start to strap him in. The home hero, pretty much, here in Belgium, although he's from the Netherlands, of course, he is Dutch, but born in Belgium, and a Belgian mother, born in Hasselt.
Hasn't Lando Norris got a Belgian mother as well?
Yeah, he has indeed.
Maybe a little-known fact.
Yeah, but you can hear the claps in the grandstand as they get the crowd going. It's not quite Zandvoort, but it's not far away in terms of party time.
I'm excited for next weekend, by the way, just as an aside. It will be my first Zandvoort in Formula One era with Max Verstappen there, and I saw it last year because we were commentating on it, but I wasn't able to be there because of current the restrictions that were in place then. But so I'm just...
Are you going to buy an orange t-shirt?
Well, funnily enough, I wasn't able to go, but my other half was, and he bought back 2 of the Max Verstappen Lion capes that you get, that one of the largest superstores within the Netherlands were providing for people, and they are still at home. So maybe I should pack them?
I think you should wear one all weekend in the pit lane.
I'm not sure that would be entirely appropriate, given that I am a member of the BBC, and I don't feel like that backs up the impartiality rules that we have. Just going to suggest.
It's fine. It's not a problem.
Also, it could get caught in a tyre. That'd be a mess.
Just wear a Ferrari cap as well. That's what I did when I went to...
Shall I merch up totally?
Yeah, I did that in Monza 2008. Monza 2009. I had a Ferrari T-shirt and a McLaren cap.
Did you feel conflicted?
No, not really. I also had 3/4 length shorts on. That was the biggest abomination of the lot.
Did you have
3/4 length trousers, you know?
Did you have almost knee-length socks though, like Sam Bird?
They weren't far off, honestly. My fashion was...
You had 3/4 length trousers, or...
3/4 length trousers with trainers and some black socks.
See, that's what shorts are for me all the time.
Sam Bird is not the tallest of racing drivers. Just to explain that.
And racing drivers aren't tall.
No. 6 minutes until qualifying gets underway. Hashtag BBC F1, of course, if you want to get in touch while we...
Good poser for you from Jago. There's a third driver with a Belgian mother on the grid. Go. Hashtag BBC F1.
Third driver with a Belgian mother. Russell, Leclerc, Vettel, Ocon. Maybe a Ocon or a Gasly. I'm going an Ocon or a Gasly, I think.
Jago, I'm going to rely on you to actually send us the answer as well, because I can't think off the top of my head who it would be.
I'm going to go Ocon. I'm going Esteban Ocon. That's my guess.
I'm going to go Kevin Magnussen, but I don't know.
So, qualifying getting underway in 5 minutes' time, and it'll be the battle to get out of Q3 into Q2, and the slowest drivers in free practice 3 earlier on, who would have been eliminated, were Mick Schumacher, who had to come into the pits because of a sensor problem, Zhou Guanyu, Yuki Tsunoda, Kevin Magnussen, and Lance Stroll. Those were the slowest drivers, which is surprising actually, because Vettel was up there in 8th place. Stroll not quite as quick, despite doing a lot of laps earlier on. How do you function with delays to qualifyings and sessions? Are you quite chilled about it, or do you start to get a bit fidgety?
No, it's fine. You go okay, and you then speak to your engineer again, go through the run plan again, and you might have a certain procedure. Like I like to listen to music. That gets me in a good vibe.
What do you listen to?
A load of stuff. My playlist is very long. Just something that'll keep me pumped and
Okay.
ready. So yeah, nothing, not like yours. No, but I know that your music is very different, and mine is very upbeat and like training music, something that will keep high RPM, high heart rate kind of stuff. But yeah, I listen to that, and then next season actually I'm going to be using a new technique of getting in the car a little bit later. The earlier you get in the car, I think the more
Genuinely?
Yeah, the more your mind has
Monkey
the
mind.
potential to wander and to think negative thoughts. So I will delay that and stay in a better frame of mind for longer.
So
going
do
into
you have a set time that you get in the car? Like at the moment,
So
it's
mine
7
was
minutes.
Mine
or...
was 10 minutes,
Right.
and it was too much time to then overthink and overcomplicate things in my head. Whereas my teammate Mitch Evans in Formula E would get in, literally the team would be screaming at him like, "Get in, please get in the car." Now I'm not saying that his way is the absolute way to do it, and I'm not saying that my way is wrong, but I think a middle ground would be good.
And have
So-
you always been 10 minutes?
Yeah,
for your
I've always
whole
been a
career?
10 minute, and next year I'll be trying something a little bit different.
Okay, great. Well,
Are you
now we
gonna-
know we can come and interview you
No, you
5
can-
minutes before the session starts. You'll be available.
No.
I have an answer. Do you want the answer?
Yeah, of course.
Well, we've got like 2 minutes 45 to go until the start of the session. The answer is, and some of you did get it right, so thanks to Gav, who got it right, Pete got it right, as well as did Greta and Liam O'Donnell. It's Lance Stroll's mum.
That's who I was going to
Also
say.
from Belgique.
That's who I did say, I thought.
No, you said somebody else.
I said a lot of other drivers. Right, cars are firing up. If you want to sync up, we have got 2 minutes and 17, 16, 15, 14, 13 seconds to go until Q1 gets underway. As I say, cars firing up. Long lap at Spa, 1 minute 45 or so. So we might see some different run plans compared to usual. Will people just be straight out to get some laps in?
So, Jack,
Yes.
who is going to win the teammate war in qualifying at Mercedes? Who's had the better pace this weekend? Do you feel who's going to come out on top this afternoon?
Well, what I feel so often at Mercedes is Hamilton just pulls it out the bag when it's time. Because Russell has, I would say, probably looked a little quicker. He was quicker in free practice 3, that's for sure. Hamilton was quicker in FP2, and Russell was quicker in FP1. So it's sort of 2-1 to Russell as far as the free practices are concerned. But when it comes down to it, it's so difficult to knock back Hamilton to pip Russell. And they could, where they're going to be in the order is going to be fascinating, because they could end up 3rd and 4th on the grid, realistically.
They shouldn't they?
I think Norris has got a good shot for 3rd.
But he's back of the grid as well.
Oh God, yeah.
Exactly, that's the thing. I thought that, and then he's back of the grid.
Well, then maybe Alonso.
Maybe Alonso.
Maybe
Alonso could
Alonso.
start be 3rd.
Just to remind you, the 7 drivers, if you want to play along, who are starting with grid penalties hovering over them, will be Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris, Ocon, Zhou and Schumacher. Bottas will start in P14 because his grid place penalty is made up from places, and 20 of them. But everybody else is a direct back of the grid start. Now, obviously, you can't have 6 cars at the back of the grid, although it would be fun to see. So they'll battle it out during qualifying to see which one starts where.
Simple as that.
So simple.
Simple as that. Right, session beginning in 10 seconds, and I think a Williams is about to depart the pit lane and make their way down towards the end. It is Nicholas Latifi, and the Haas are going to go out as well. The light goes green now at the end of the pit lane, and a little 25 minutes later than advertised, qualifying gets underway with Nicholas Latifi joining the circuit. The crowd give him a nice big cheer as they get to see a car out on track, and he's gone out on the medium tyre here, Nicholas Latifi. So maybe just a sort of bit of an install or something here potentially.
Yeah, seems like a bit of a sighter, see what the car's doing. Maybe they weren't too happy with some of the long run stuff that they did earlier. Maybe he just wants to get a feel for what the car might be doing beginning of the race. I'm really not sure. You would have thought that they would throw every soft tyre at it to try and get through, or to try and get further up the grid.
Yeah, very interesting. From we've seen it a couple of times from Williams that they like to go out and do a sort of sighter. Oh, lock up on the left front from Latifi as he comes down into Bruxelles. But they sort of do an out lap and then a push lap, but then don't actually complete the push lap. And I just wonder, because of the long circuit here at Spa, whether instead of just sitting in the pits for another 5 minutes before they put the soft tyres on, they can go out on track and do a bit of something.
I just wonder if they're scrubbing those in, maybe. Seen this year a few of the teams deciding to scrub their, so it just means taking the new set and just doing like a lap, maybe even just an out and in on them, and then they're there and ready to go.
Well, we have seen it is cooler, and it's relatively cold actually this weekend in Spa. We're not expecting rain for the rest of the weekend, at least that's what we've been informed, or there's a low likelihood. And we've seen that with the harder compounds, the medium and the hard, it's very, very difficult to switch the tyre on. We saw Mercedes trying to get the hard to work. It definitely wasn't working. So maybe, you're right, Jenny, maybe they are just scrubbing them lightly to make sure that when they get out of the pits for the second stage of the race, they're not going to have any issues through Eau Rouge and up the hill towards turn 5, 6, 7.
It is actually a pretty chilly day in Belgium. Latifi returns to the pit lane now, so it looks like that may well be what had happened. It's 15 degrees air temperature. The track temperature is only 20.9 degrees, so that is an astute observation as Latifi returns to the pit lane. Schumacher is out on a set of soft tyres as he comes around towards Stavolo through the right-hander, then on the power, and then through the kind of acceleration zone, really, of turn 15. Schumacher weaving around. Everybody else is still in the pit lane. It's only Mick Schumacher out on circuit, at the circuit where his dad made his Formula One debut in 1991. Took his first Formula One Grand Prix victory in 1992. But now the Mercedes are going to head out. Lewis Hamilton's Silver Arrow about to have its tyre covers removed, and a shiny set of Pirelli tyres with the red stripe along the side, illustrating they are softs, and he joins the circuit. Schumacher, meanwhile, through the La Source hairpin and then down towards Eau Rouge and Raidillon. A reminder that the quickest lap time that we had today is a 1:45.0. So a 1:45.0 is the quickest time we've had this weekend. As Schumacher heads up the Kemmel straight now, all of a sudden everybody else is leaving the pits too. So the two Mercedes leave, Perez leaves, Charles Leclerc is departing in the Ferrari. He'll be followed by his teammate Carlos Sainz. And this first session, with 14 minutes and 10 seconds left on the clock, is all about getting in the top 15 and getting through to the next part of qualifying.
Just wonder how these grid penalties will play out with regards to teammates, if they can use maybe a little bit of Verstappen to help Perez, or if they can use a little bit of Leclerc to help Sainz out, because they cannot start this race or anywhere but the back 6 cars. So they've got to be clever about this and be smart and make sensible decisions at this point.
Well, that's the thing. If you compromise Verstappen's run in order to give Perez a tow, and then Verstappen starts behind Leclerc, is that smart? I don't think we'll see too much towing. I don't think we'll see too much clever stuff between teammates. We saw it in Paul Ricard, didn't we, with Sainz and Leclerc, but I can't imagine we're going to be seeing it a huge amount here, but I will wait to be corrected as per. Schumacher out of the final corner. He does a 1:47.929, and that is much quicker than he managed earlier on, because he only managed 6 laps earlier on. So Schumacher's first time on the board is a 47.9. Everybody has now left the pit lane. The sound you can hear is Lewis Hamilton making his way towards Blanchimont, and he's at the head of the queue, but he has got Russell fairly close behind him as they come down towards the chicane. So Russell may be picking up a bit of a toe from Hamilton, but again, there's a difference between being close enough behind a car to get a toe and doing that sort of active slipstreaming that we saw Ferrari do in Paul Ricard as Hamilton comes across the line.
Yeah, I think the ideal length of time is about 3 to 4 seconds behind a car. Any closer and you actually then get disturbed by the lack of airflow in the middle of a corner, you start to lose the front end and downforce at the front of the car when turning in, so it becomes less of a help, pretty much.
Through the first sector comes Hamilton. He should be a bit quicker than Mick Schumacher, and he's only up by 0.04 of a second as he comes into Les Combes. Russell is up by 0.06 on Schumacher's time as they now come down the hill in towards Bruxelles. Verstappen about to start his lap now. Perez has gone quicker than the lot of them in the first sector. The last across the line is going to be Yuki Tsunoda in the AlphaTauri, as Schumacher's now on his in-lap. Perez going quickly through the middle sector now also. Hamilton into the pith path, the right-left sort of high-speed chicane, and then down towards Stavelot. We'll get his middle sector split here, and compared to Mick Schumacher, he is up by a second. George Russell, meanwhile, is up on Schumacher by 1.2 seconds. So Russell going quicker than Hamilton at the moment, 11 minutes on the clock.
Verstappen is absolutely flying right now, Jack, in that Red Bull. He might not qualify, he might not qualify at the front of the grid in the end of this because of penalties, but my word, he's putting in an amazing lap right now.
He's 0.2 quicker in Sector 1 than Sergio Perez, and there's only one corner in Sector 1. We'll see what he's got in the middle sector. Hamilton comes across the line to do a 1:46.7, and that is some way off what his teammate managed in FP3 earlier on today. Here comes Sergio Perez, bit of a wobble as he gets on the power out of the final corner at the bus stop chicane, and he does a 45.3. 0.3 slower than he managed in the final practice session earlier on. Sainz has done the fastest middle sector of anyone. Leclerc comes across the line to go second fastest, 0.2 away from Sergio Perez. Then it's Lando Norris who goes up into third place, ahead of George Russell, who is fourth. Here comes Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. He goes quicker than Perez. Quicker than Perez by more than 0.3 of a second. That's a very nice lap and a very encouraging lap for Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. Max Verstappen through the final 2 corners. Is he going to pip the Ferrari? He is. And by pip, I mean about half a second. So big lap from Verstappen. Sainz in second. Perez is third. Leclerc is fourth. Norris is fifth. But that's a very, very big lap from Verstappen. And much more encouraging for Carlos Sainz and Ferrari. We're just getting a replay of George Russell getting out of the way into La Source at turn 1, and then seeing a big lock-up from Yuki Tsunoda in the AlphaTauri.
Super dangerous from Tsunoda.
Russell saying super dangerous from Tsunoda. I think they've got the wrong radio message there. I'm presuming it was Tsunoda backing off at the end of the lap that was dangerous, because a lock-up into La Source ain't too scary.
That's not too scary at all, is it? But that is massive pace from Max Verstappen. Okay, he's not going to be on pole, but it does lay down a massive marker. I would say, Jack and Jenny, that everybody 5th downwards is going to have to run again on another set of softs. I think that Leclerc, Perez, Sainz, Verstappen right now are safe, and they're going through to Q2. But Ocon down, everybody will need to run again because the order is not set yet.
So 8.5 minutes to go. Verstappen, Sainz, Perez, Leclerc are those top 4, with Ocon in 5th, just ahead of Alonso. Gasly 7th, Ricciardo 8th, Norris 9th, Russell 10th, And then it is Albon, Vettel, Magnussen, Tsunoda and Hamilton, the top 15 at the moment. Eliminated as it stands would be Stroll, Latifi, Schumacher, Zhou and Bottas. So no pace at all at the moment for the Alfa Romeos. No one is on a lap currently. Actually, the two Mercedes are. So Russell and Hamilton are going again on this set of soft tyres. So they're obviously confident they can find some more speed. They'll be fairly... I don't know if they would have time to do another lap at the end of this. You know what I mean? If they complete this lap, would they have time to come into the pits for a new set? It would be pretty tight.
Well, we know that they don't fire their tyres up as quickly as other people, so when there's the opportunity to do another lap, this car, it might not have the outright pace of Ferrari and Red Bull, but what it can do is it can do a second lap.
7 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. Russell's first sector is not particularly exciting. Hamilton's is a personal best, though. They're both still pushing. They've actually swapped positions. Hamilton was ahead of Russell for the first time lap. Now Russell is ahead of Hamilton through the pit path. Russell through the middle sector, and he's 1.1 seconds down on Verstappen. So that's not too bad, actually. This could put him up in the mix with the Alpines. Hamilton's a similar deficit back to Verstappen, so we'll see what Mercedes do here, whether they stay out and finish this lap. Russell onto the brakes, through the bus stop, maybe a bit wide, into the bus stop, out across the line, and Russell doesn't improve his lap time. Remains in 10th position.
Went in too deep, Jack, into the bus stop chicane, went in a little bit hot in the first apex and then tightened up the radius of the second apex. Lewis Hamilton does improve and slots in just behind his teammate in 11th, but definitely not the pace that they were hoping for at this stage of the weekend.
No, absolutely not. They're behind the McLarens, behind the AlphaTauri of Pierre Gasly, and behind both of the Alpines, so real struggles for Mercedes. 6 minutes to go, so they can get back into the pits with sort of 4 minutes, 3.5 minutes to go. Quick pit stop. It's doable, but I think they'll only get one shot at it. One lap on a new set of softs.
Just looking at the Alfa Romeos, they're down in 19th and 20th. Both have got grid place penalties, so it doesn't really matter this qualifying session for them. I think they've gone round just to make sure that they've put in a time. And once the penalties are applied, Bottas, he knows, will start in 14th. So actually, it's beneficial for him to save that new engine that they've put in, save parts, and just sit pretty, basically. Don't get tangled up with anybody else and don't jeopardise your own qualifying, because you're qualifying for nothing.
Yeah. So currently Daniel Ricciardo ahead of Lando Norris. So that's one to keep our eyes on as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. Verstappen sitting at the wheel of his Red Bull, getting ready to head back out. So everybody is in the pits waiting to depart, other than the two Mercedes of Russell and Hamilton, who are making their way back in now. The order: Verstappen, Sainz, Perez, Leclerc, the top four. Then it's Ocon, Alonso, Gasly, Ricciardo, Norris and Russell. That's the top 10. Hamilton missing out on the top 10 at the moment in 11th. Albon is 12th. Vettel, Magnussen and Tsunoda are the top 15. Eliminated as it stands would be Stroll, Latifi, Schumacher, Zhou and Valtteri Bottas, with 4 minutes and 36 seconds left on the clock. The Mercedes are now back in the pit lane, so they should be able to get back out and go again on a brand new set of the soft tyres. They're not particularly in danger. Well, they're not, but they're also not in danger. Hamilton's at a 46.3. It's 4 tenths from Hamilton back to Lance Stroll, who's in 16th at the moment, which on a circuit this long is not a huge amount of time. So going to need to get it right here, Mercedes.
Just listening across to their radio, Jack, Pete Bonington saying to Lewis Hamilton, just make sure you don't give anybody a tow. You've got Tsunoda near you. So they obviously are thinking about that tow, thinking about the impact that it could have potentially, and not helping anybody else. But there was a time when Mercedes wouldn't have cared what Tsunoda was doing. They were like, okay, fine, doesn't matter. Now they're right, 10th and 11th at the moment. Ouchie times.
Yeah, tough for Mercedes. Hamilton said after practice yesterday that they didn't seem to have any pace, but usually they get a bit better on a Saturday, not being the case so far, with 3 minutes and 26 seconds left on the clock. Stroll, Latifi, Schumacher, Zhou and Bottas are the 5 drivers that would be eliminated. The Alfa Romeos are so far off the pace, it's a bit odd. Joe was 4 tenths off the back of Schumacher and is a second away from advancing through. Valtteri Bottas is another 2 tenths back from him. So real missing in action for Alfa Romeo at the moment.
I don't think they're really trying, Jack. I think that they know that they've got the grid penalties. And
yeah, true. And Bottas will be 14th, whatever happens.
Yeah. So it doesn't really concern them to pound around in this session. We see Lewis Hamilton now leaving the pit lane. This next lap for him is really, really important. Make a mistake, and there's a real chance that he could be slipping into the bottom 5.
Russell joins the circuit in the other Mercedes. Leclerc, well, the top 4, as Sam said, are done with this first part of qualifying. Verstappen, Sainz, Perez and Leclerc all out of their cars and remaining in the pit lane. 2 minutes and 18 seconds on the clock. So at the moment, as I say, Stroll, Latifi, Schumacher, Joe and Bottas would be the drivers eliminated. We'll see whether any of them can make any grounds. Leclerc is getting back into his car now. He's obviously just been for a little rest out the back of the garage. A relief. You know what I mean. Everyone knows what I'm saying.
Comfort break.
I do indeed.
Comfort break, there we go. And now he's getting strapped back in to the wheel of his car. So Stroll is going to be the first driver across the line. No, scrap that. Latifi is the first driver across the line in the Williams. At the moment, his teammate Albon is 4 tenths of a second up the road in 12th position. Stroll starts his lap now. He is in 16th place and at the moment eliminated from the first part of qualifying. And he's come through La Source and is now heading down towards Eau Rouge and Radion. And didn't look particularly good, honestly, through La Source. He's coming up the hill now. Will get his first sector split, Lance Stroll, compared to Yuki Tsunoda, who's the driver in 15th at the moment on the bubble. Russell's saying it's spitting with rain through Eau Rouge. Stroll has not done a personal best in the first sector. Schumacher has found 2 tenths in sector 1, so that's a very good first couple of corners from Schumacher. Bottas has found 3 tenths on Yuki Tsunoda. So all of the bottom 5 are improving at the moment. So is Magnussen, so is Tsunoda. Vettel is not. So Mercedes do need to get a move on, and they do need to have neat and tidy laps if they want to get through into Q2.
Just out of interest, Mercedes have put on a new set of soft tyres, so if they get through into the final part of qualifying, it's a big if right now. If they can get even out of here, that could compromise them.
Yeah, indeed. Stroll is coming through the 2 right-handers at the far end of the circuit. Now at Stabilo, he is 3 tenths up on Tsunoda, so he's finding time. Schumacher's half a second up, so everybody is finding a lot of time here. So it's Stroll, Latifi, Schumacher, Joe and Bottas, the drivers who would be eliminated. Latifi will be the first across the line. He goes up into 13th place. So Latifi jumps up into 13th. Next through is going to be Stroll. He's going to be followed by Schumacher. Big slide from Stroll as he comes through the bus stop chicane and out across the line. Stroll goes up into 10th place. So Magnussen is shuffled down. Schumacher across the line. He only goes up into 13th place. So Latifi looks like he's going to get knocked out because there's a lot of improvements coming in further back. Here comes Zhou Guanyu, 7th place for the Alfa Romeo driver. Good lap from Zhou. Then we've got Magnussen, only 18th. Magnussen did not find any time. Schumacher has out-qualified him. Sebastian Vettel comes through the final corner and across the line. He goes up into 15th. So now, will Alex Albon make it into the second part of qualifying? Latifi, Magnussen, Tsunoda and Bottas are done. It's only Alex Albon that can change things and get out. Huge locker from Yuki Tsunoda. He's thrown that one away. Big style coming into the bus stop chicane. Albon is only coming through the middle sector right now as he comes on the power down towards the final couple of corners. Hamilton's down in 13th, but I think the Mercedes are pretty much safe. In fact, they are definitely safe. We'll see what lap time they can do nevertheless. Hamilton out, cuts the timing beam, he goes up into 5th position. And Russell will improve as well. He goes up into 5th ahead of Hamilton. But here comes Albon. Does he get out? Yes, he does. Alex Albon splits the Mercedes and goes 6th fastest. So Vettel is eliminated. Latifi eliminated, Magnussen, Tsunoda and Bottas, the 20 drivers knocked out in Q1. Schumacher just making it through ahead of Stroll. Ricciardo ended up not improving on that second run, or not improving as much as Norris did, and he ended up half a second further back. But good job from Alex Albon to get up there quicker than Hamilton, quicker than Zhou and Gasly and Ricciardo and Stroll and Schumacher. But Vettel is eliminated. But quite busy at the end there.
Did a lot of track evolution on that second run, Jack. Probably about half second, 6/10 for most drivers. Russell, was it Russell that reported some spots of rain?
Yeah.
At Eau Rouge, but it didn't seem to affect most of the drivers, which is good.
It's second part of qualifying will start in 5 minutes' time now. So it is Vettel, Latifi, Magnussen, Snowder and Bottas that will be eliminated from qualifying, but there's no point me telling you where they'll start on the grid.
No.
Other than Bottas.
Well, your guess is as good as mine. I would imagine that Magnussen will start 13th, 12th for Latifi, 11th for Vettel. But I do think it's a missed opportunity for those three drivers. Magnussen, Latifi and Vettel do not have grid penalties. So they were hoping, they were looking to be able to jump further up once everybody shuffled back. So I think there will be a bit of disappointment there. But the other side of the Williams garage, as you said, with Alex Albon managing to qualify in 6th and do that amazing lap. He's been looking good all weekend, hasn't he? Really positive for him.
Yeah, absolutely. A 45.6 for him. Ricciardo went into the gravel at Speaker's Corner on the exit there, and it didn't cost him because he ended up in 13th place in his through, but he would have had to, he lost quite a chunk of time there.
A few tenths there, Jack, absolutely.
Sorry, Sebastian, we're out on P16 just at the end of Albon. Literally 2 thousandths. Oh, right.
Vettel out by 2 thousandths.
I think I might have got my maths wrong.
Okay.
I think Vettel will start P10. Potentially. Let's see what happens. It's such a headache, and until we get the provisional grid at the end of all of this, to try and work it out is actually taxing me. But I think Vettel P10, which, bearing in mind, is just qualified 16th, ain't too shabby.
No, you take that, don't you?
What's the point in doing this qualifying session if the grid's going to be completely different?
So people can hear your dulcet tones.
Yeah, sure. 2.5 minutes till Q2 gets underway, and Verstappen, Sainz, Perez, Leclerc, Russell was the top 5. Albon, Hamilton, Norris, Ocon, Alonso was the top 10. Zhou, Gasly, Ricciardo, Stroll and Schumacher were the top 15. Now, Alpine didn't go again. They left the pits again, but then they pitted early, both of them, so they didn't complete a flying lap. So they are, I think, a little out of position. I think Alpine could be locking out the second row of the grid here. They could be 3rd and 4th with Ocon and Alonso potentially. And Perez has slipped away a little. Okay, it was only Q1, but 3 tenths behind Carlos Sainz, 8 tenths behind his teammate is not quite the performance we saw from him in FP3.
And that's what I mean. It's not. He's not grabbed the weekend by the scruff of the neck and dominated. He did one really strong lap in comparison to other people, and he hasn't replicated it again in FP1. Now, there might have been a little bit of traffic or a lockup or missing an apex. I'm not entirely sure because we didn't actually see his lap on board. But you'd want to see a little bit more, because as of right now the momentum has swung to Carlos Sainz. And Carlos Sainz will be thinking, right, well, I can grab this pole position.
Just out of interest, if it interests you, Ocon and Alonso went out on a used set of soft tyres, so they sort of have those tyres still banked in another set, whereas everybody else went out on new softs if they went out at all.
Yeah. Interesting. I do find that interesting, because to go out, I mean, they were quite high up the order, so maybe they thought just with the track evolution, old softs would be enough, but that's...
I think that was a safety, wasn't it? Circulate just to make sure you're out there in case it's needed, but we don't really think it's needed. But it's such a long track, you can't sprint out and do a quick lap and come back. You've kind of got to be out there, haven't you? If you need to react.
That's the thing. But if you needed to react, you'd want to be on new tyres, wouldn't you? You know, that's the thing. I completely agree. So they've sort of done a interesting little gamble there.
Like a double bluff.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Fair play, Alpine. Q2 is going to start in 24 seconds. Esteban Ocon getting ready to head out onto the side. Did he make his Formula One debut at Spa?
In a manner.
Yeah. There you go. There's your little fact of the day.
What year?
I think 16.
Oh, no, I think.
Was it earlier?
I think earlier. I think 15.
Oh, maybe 15.
I think 15. It's amazing how time flies, because
doesn't it just?
That's a long time ago. It doesn't feel like he's been in Formula One close to a decade, but it's... Hang on, let's have a look. Jack is on the computer, everybody.
16.
16.
16. Fine. No need to apologise.
Just got it. I just got it. I was a moment behind you. I'm so annoyed with myself.
14 and a half minutes. It was my first full season covering Formula One, so that's why I remember it. Because I was there, so...
We were delighted to have you on board.
I don't need
full time.
Yeah. 14 minutes and 16 seconds on the clock. And Hamilton and Russell straight out there. Now they are in the fight to get into Q3.
Based on the pace that they've just shown in Q1, I'd be worried about that, Jack. I don't think it's a dead cert that both of them get through. Maybe they might both get through, but right now it's not that clear cut. The Alpines look very strong. Joe put in a great lap. You've got Norris and Ricciardo, who showed good pace in Q1 and also in FP3. It's not that clear cut at all.
They've also gone out on the used soft tyres, have the Mercedes, to try and bank themselves some for later on in qualifying if they can make it through. So yeah, they're out on used. Everybody else, Schumacher's on used, as is Gasly at the moment as well. Ocon, Alonso on a new set of tyres.
13 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Hamilton is coming around the final couple of corners to start his flying lap. Leclerc has fired up his Ferrari and will join the circuit in a moment. He and Verstappen will be starting from the back of the grid for the Belgian Grand Prix tomorrow, but in which order depends on who outqualifies whom. Hamilton across the line, down towards turn one. DRS open, slams shut as he turns into the right-hander of La Source and then gets on the power and heads towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Sergio Perez starting his lap next. Leclerc and Ricciardo, the two drivers in the pit lane. Everybody else is out on circuit as Hamilton comes over the crest at the top of Radion and then past the huge bank of fans on his left-hand side that are watching along the Kemmel Straight. Moves slightly to the middle of the road, then back over to the left into the braking zone of Les Combes. Through it at fourth gear, a little shift up into 5 and feathering the throttle as he comes through Malmedy. Now down into Bruxelles, down into fourth gear. Max Verstappen meanwhile has started a lap and is coming through the first sector. Hamilton is fractionally quicker than Russell in sector 1. Max Verstappen is quicker than the Mercedes by about half a second through the first sector. Hamilton's coming down through Pouhon now. Ricciardo is still in the pit lane. Leclerc has left now. Sainz and Perez through the first sector, and Perez is fractionally ahead of Sainz, but Sainz is 2 tenths down on Max Verstappen. Verstappen's in an absolute world of his own at the moment this weekend in Spa. Hamilton making his way down the second half of the lap, down towards the bus stop chicane. Flashing through Blanchimont at 190 miles an hour. Middle sector-wise, Russell is quicker than Hamilton by almost 3 tenths of a second, actually, so very good middle sector from Russell. Hamilton slides his way through the bus stop and does a 1 minute 46.6, and that is 9 tenths slower than he managed in Q1. He is out on those used soft tyres, though. Middle sector-wise for Verstappen, he's on a 44.9. He's 2 tenths quicker than Sainz. Sainz is slower than Perez in the middle sector, so maybe Perez is coming back into the game a little bit. Russell goes 3 tenths quicker than Hamilton, but here comes Verstappen now across the line on the power, and he does a 44.7, 2 tenths slower than he managed in Q1. Now here's Carlos Sainz. He slots into second place, and Perez gets into second now. So Perez back ahead of Sainz, but by a big chunk. So I wonder if the Yeah, Perez basically matching Verstappen again like he did in FP3.
Do we know if the Ferrari went out on new tyres?
I can tell you that Carlos Sainz went out on a used set of tyres, as did Max Verstappen. Perez was the one on a new set of tyres.
Okay. Well,
so all of a sudden,
yeah,
it doesn't look so rosy for Perez.
No, absolutely not. Norris slots into 4th place, Alonso 5th. So Verstappen quickest on an old set of tyres, Perez 2nd quickest on a new set of tyres, Carlos Sainz 3rd quickest on an old set of tyres.
Now, Norris is out there. He's on a new set of tyres as well. But Ricciardo's still in the pits. I've asked the team if there are any issues. They say it's all going to the run plan.
Okay.
Curious.
Big slide from Albon as he comes through the bus stop. Ricciardo, as you say, still in the pits. 9.5 minutes to go. Albon goes up into 10th place ahead of Stroll and Schumacher and Leclerc, who's just started his lap now in the Ferrari. 9 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock, and the order is Verstappen, Perez, Sainz, Ocon, Norris, the top 5, Alonso, Russell, Hamilton, Albon, the top 10. Eliminated at the moment would be Zhou, Stroll, Schumacher, Leclerc and Ricciardo, but we still haven't seen a lap from Leclerc or from Ricciardo, and again he gets on the dirt coming into Stavolo. It doesn't seem to upset him or offend him too much, but he's 7 tenths down on Verstappen after the first 2 corners, and now we're getting a bit of slippy slipstream here because Leclerc has come right up behind his teammate Sainz on the run down towards the bus stop chicane. Looked fairly well executed that, if that was the plan. Big slide from Leclerc, comes out across the line, scrappy lap overall, and he goes 6th fastest for Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, that was not ideal at the end of the lap, having that big slide. Although we are seeing most drivers, if not all drivers, having issues with an oversteer at the bus stop chicane. It's almost as if when the car is under maximum lateral G, as we're seeing a replay now of him getting so close to the exit of the track, out of Piff Paff. Unbelievable stuff. Charles Leclerc is a driver that loves to use every millimetre of the circuit, and he's doing that again today. And in one instance in FP3, a little bit more than what he should have used, as Jackie Ickx is looking on and is thinking, wow, that's impressive. Everybody at the bus stop, Jack, is having these slides. And for me, I think it's the fact that the tyre has changed so much this year. We used to have a much larger sidewall to the tyre that would then flex a lot more, whereas now the tyre is a bit stiffer and therefore you slide a little bit more in these kind of areas.
The car is jumping like crazy in the apex of slow corners. It's very strange. Very, very strange.
That's Leclerc's radio.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why as well, is because the tyre has less dynamic damping because of the smaller sidewall. So that could be one of the reasons why.
Jumping like crazy, says Charles Leclerc in the slow corners. 7 minutes on the clock. Everybody back in the pits. The top 10, Verstappen, Perez, Sainz, Ocon, Norris, Leclerc, Alonso, Russell, Gasly, Hamilton. Eliminated at the moment, Albon, Zhou, Stroll, Schumacher, Ricciardo, Jenny Gao.
Yeah, Ricciardo, no time set as of yet. That's the run plan according to McLaren at the moment. And here's a stat for you. The last time Valtteri Bottas didn't make Q2.
Oh, wow.
Any ideas?
I don't know.
Was it before? Was it before his Mercedes days? Was he when he was at Williams?
Now you're testing me.
Do you know the answer?
Yes, I do, and yes, before.
So what, 2016, 2015? 2015 Hungarian Grand Prix.
Close, Monaco. Monaco 2015, 148 races ago. Formula One put the stat out.
So this is where, if I'm Bottas, well, firstly, maybe I don't care about those stats. But secondly, I say, guys, can I just go through to Q2 and then we'll stop driving, just so that I can keep my stat going?
Are you sure there wasn't... I could have sworn at Imola this year he was low down on the grid.
No, Imola this year, Bottas started 5th.
Oh,
no,
right.
that was Miami. Apologies, 7th.
7th. Where was it? He was knocked out in one early on, or
15th
a couple.
15th in Baku.
15th in Baku. That was the one.
Was that the one you were thinking of?
Yep.
But that was still cute enough for Q2.
Alas, this performance, as you say, which looks like it was pre-prescribed because he's finished 20th, he'll start 14th. Stats obviously mean nothing to him.
Yeah.
You talk to the drivers, and I remember asking Hamilton in France, it was his 300th start, I think.
Yeah.
And I said to him, does it mean anything to you? No, it doesn't mean anything to me. I don't really follow the stats. And then in the after-race press conference, he was like, yeah, I suddenly realised it was my 300th, and it's quite a big deal, isn't it?
Are you a stat man? Have you got all your stats in your locker?
I mean...
How many GP2 wins?
How many GP2 wins?
Yeah.
I can't remember. It was a long time ago. It's a long time ago. In some ways, I'm a stat person. There's a couple that I'm fond of. I wish there were more. Oh no, don't. For people listening in, he's now gone to Wikipedia, which is terrible. Please don't, Jack. It's not full of useful information for anybody. There's not enough firsts anywhere on that list.
Okay. So what's your favourite stat about yourself?
I don't know. Then I'm 2 foot shorter than Shaquille O'Neal.
That is a great stat.
That's great.
I love that. Hang on, are we the same height? Can you stand up?
No, I'm no.
Come on, stand up.
I haven't got my shoes on.
I know, exactly.
And you've got massive wedges.
Look, it's not started yet.
So 3.5 minutes to go.
No, I've got a little bit on you. There we go.
Same.
Verstappen is quickest, Perez is second, Sainz is third, Ocon fourth, Norris fifth. Leclerc, Alonso, Russell, Gasly, Hamilton are the rest of the top 10. And then eliminated at the moment would be Albon, Joe, Stroll, Schumacher and Ricciardo. But with 3 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock, that appears to be the magic time to head out onto the circuit to try and make progress into the final part of qualifying. The Mercedes right on the bubble with Hamilton there in 10th position. What can Ricciardo do? Because he was matching Norris in the first run in Q1, then made a mistake in the second part, or the second run in Q1. The two Alpines are going out there right together. It is, at the moment, Ocon ahead of Fernando Alonso. So Alonso will be getting a little bit of a slipstream with 2.5 minutes on the clock. And Alex Albon, 11th at the moment, but has he got a shot of making it into Q3 for the Williams team?
Ricciardo following Norris on track. Can't quite work out why he didn't do a first run in this session. This is his first run now. The other drivers following each other. It's Alonso and Ocon in the Alpine. They're out on track first, and they are running Ocon first, Alonso second.
Tyres, I presume, saving a set of new tyres?
Yeah.
So he could have gone out on used, but maybe thought, nah, mate.
Save it for the race.
Yeah. Or for Q3.
Or Q3.
Because, to be honest, Norris and Ricciardo should be in Q3. So maybe that's the theory. And maybe they've seen Ricciardo's... Because they get so much data on these times that even though he went into the gravel, they can, usually see that it would have been enough were it not for that gravel trip. So they know potentially that he's got the pace in there. Both Red Bulls are remaining in the pit lane. Verstappen first and Perez second, 700ths between them.
Okay, Norris is on scrub tyres and looks like he's towing Daniel.
Okay, same plan. Let's beat them.
Okay, so Ocon is towing Alonso. Norris is going to be towing Ricciardo, basically, to make sure they get into the final part of qualifying, because Ocon and Norris have back of the grid penalties.
Yeah, and currently they're sitting 4th and 5th at the moment, so they're making it through anyway. I think this is more of a help for Alonso and more of a help for Daniel in order to try and get them through.
So, down the hill comes Esteban Ocon. Fernando Alonso is a little further back from him at the moment. We'll see whether they tow him round the whole lap or whether they get out of the way up at the Kemmel Straight with 37 seconds left on the clock. It looks as though, he's going to get out of the way at the end of the Kemmel Straight is Esteban Ocon. So there we go. Through the first sector comes Fernando Alonso. Does a 30.9. And Ocon is already up there in 4th place. The McLarens are coming around the first corner now. Albon is just starting his lap. Reasonable first sector from Gasly as well in the AlphaTauri. And Hamilton now coming into the source to start his lap.
Yeah, Hamilton just leading Russell round as well. The Mercedes both together on track.
Checker flag is out. Alonso turns it into pit path through the right-hander, then through the left-hander. Bit of work going on the sort of bottom left floor area of Sergio Perez's car in the garage. Alonso through the middle sector split. He's 6/10 down on Verstappen, but that would be enough. Well, it depends how much he loses in the final part of the lap, to be honest, but he's on for an improvement at the moment, Fernando Alonso, but by how much? Mick Schumacher is the only driver who isn't improving. Everybody else is. So at the moment, Albon, Zhou, Stroll, Schumacher and Ricciardo would be eliminated. Alonso coming through the final couple of corners, out across the line, and it's 5th for Fernando Alonso. Slower than Esteban Ocon, but still, that should be enough to get them into the top 10. Gasly jumps up into 8th place. Charles Leclerc is flying. He's gone out on a new set of the soft tyres. Ocon dives back into the pits. Zhou gets up into 9th place. Stroll only goes 11th, so Stroll is eliminated. Russell at the moment is on the bubble, but he is improving. So is Ricciardo. Here comes the McLaren driver, the Australian. Turns into the final couple of corners. Leclerc goes quicker than Verstappen and Perez. Ricciardo comes through and he gets him into 8th place. Is that going to be enough? Because he's still got the 2 Mercedes and Alex Albon in the Williams to come. George Russell is first across the line. Hamilton goes him into 5th place, followed by Russell, who goes him into 6th position. So Ricciardo is on the bubble. It'll be Albon or Ricciardo, and it's Albon. Alex Albon in the Williams gets through into the final part of qualifying. Ricciardo is pushed out in 11th. 12th for Gasly, 13th Zhou, 14th Stroll, 15th Schumacher, but Alex Albon, 10th place into Q3. Tremendous.
Fantastic job by Alex Albon. He's really come alive, hasn't he, again this year? He's had that difficult period at Red Bull, and with this new car, it seems to be working really nicely for him, and hats off.
I think that's the first time this season he's made it into Q3 by my record, so yeah, impressive.
Alpine, both Alpines ahead of both McLarens. Has been surprising considering the pace that Norris has had so far this season. Also, Ricciardo, this is one of those where it's like he's only a 10th off Norris. So overall, not bad. Like, that's sort of acceptable performance, but not beating him, of course, but that kind of performance is, if he'd been this far off Norris for 2 years, it would be fine, you know. But the track again, Jack, the second run, you've got a couple of tenths in the pocket.
No grip.
Yeah, copy Lance. So we're out.
I just don't get it. It's just so much slower.
So Stroll's saying he had no grip. But yeah, that's a fair point. And he had a toe from Norris as well.
He had a toe from Norris. Norris didn't do a second lap. He had 2 bites of the cherry in the second lap. Should have been a little bit better. So, OK, he was within 1/10. But, as we see, Mick Schumacher missing turn 1 terribly. And that would have been shocking for his lap time. That was what caused it. A front right lock-up going into turn 1 and then awful traction getting out.
I think, if my mathematics is correct again, who knows, Ricciardo could start P7 because of all the grid pens. So he should start P7, Gasly P8, P9 for Stroll, and then 10 for Vettel, blah, blah.
OK. So we move on to the final part of qualifying. The kind of battle for pole position, but Leclerc and Verstappen are the 2 quickest drivers so far. Perez ahead of Sainz, but they did different strategies in terms of tyres.
Right, good lad. Well done. P10.
Yes.
Albon delighted with that, with 10th place, as he may well be. And to be honest, it's pretty much on merit. Even though you have all of the grid penalties coming in, he didn't really. You could argue maybe Bottas could have got into Q3, but he's been quicker than Bottas all weekend, so it's a full merit top 10 for Alex Albon.
And he's done that on his own, without a toe, on merit of his skill and the car's ability.
At the very least, he'll start P6.
Yeah.
At the very least, Alex Albon in a Williams will start P6, and he remembers where Williams finished last year. Second it was, okay. It was a sham of a mockery sham, but the Williams qualified well here, under the hands of George Russell, and they managed to get second place, and they held on to second place. I don't know why I'm saying they.
It is they. What?
No, I was talking about George as they.
Oh, I see. Well, drivers like to talk about themselves as we, don't we? Or we had a tough lap out there, or we had a...
But we speak about the we is because we're part of. It's not just. We see it as. It's not just me out there. It's. I'm with the team. This is a team sport. You know, it'd be. If you said I got a good result, you should be saying we got a good result today.
I agree.
We agree.
We agree. We should start implementing that as part of the BBC F1 team. It's all we.
It was earlier in FP3. You did a brilliant wee! I can't remember who was going into the gravel, probably Leclerc. Someone.
Yeah, chances are.
It was a great wee. A minute and 10 until the start of the session?
Correct. So, this is close to call, this, between Perez and... I think I'm sticking with Sainz.
Yeah, I've gone to Sainz.
Oh, no,
now.
sticking with Sainz. I'm changing to Sainz.
Yeah, I've changed to Sainz. I don't think Perez has got it in the bag today. He did that great lap earlier on, but qualifying, it seems to have... He's not set the world alight again, and that lap then on the brand new soft was not really competitive enough, in my opinion. I think he needed to have another 4 or 5 tenths in the pocket, to be honest.
Lots of revving going on in the Alpine garage in Esteban Ocon's car as he gets ready to head out in the next 2 minutes. 1 minute, and then make his way onto circuit to see how high up the order Alpine can qualify. Lando Norris looked so quick all weekend. Alonso did do a good job in FP3, but the Alpine pace is strong. And then, just as, again, this is classic Mercedes, just as they're looking a little bit adrift, oh no, they're 5th and 6th fastest again.
Back they come.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so strange, isn't it? It's almost like maybe they just try stuff out, race settings, all sorts of different things when it comes to practice, because they know what they can do when it comes to qualifying. So they're just trying to maximise their whole weekend, and they only ever get serious when they have to. Yeah, that first run in in Q1 was nothing. There we go, let's see what happens. 30 seconds to go.
So, the battle for pole position for the Belgian Grand Prix about to get underway here on the BBC Sport website and Formula One app and wherever else you're listening around the world. Great to have you with us for what is going to be a really interesting and slightly complicated battle for pole, because so who do we have in the top 10 that are getting back of the grids? Leclerc, Verstappen, Ocon, Norris. So those 4 drivers will be starting at the back of the grid. In what order depends in which order they finish this final part of qualifying. Albon first out on circuit on the soft tyres for Williams. And he will be starting 6th on the grid.
At least.
At least. At worst. So a remarkable performance from him. Verstappen making his way out now behind Sergio Perez. They're on new tyres. It's a used set of tyres for Lewis Hamilton for his first run in the Mercedes. It's also used for Alonso. It's new for Sainz. And Alonso there just nosing to the inside of Verstappen. Verstappen closing the door as they made their way towards pit lane exit. And still a dry day in Belgium so far today. Leclerc and Russell still in the pits, so they'll head out in a few moments' time. But yeah, maybe Carlos Sainz is the favourite for this pole position in the comms booth. Maybe
2-1.
Is it, you still going Perez?
Still going Perez.
It's a really it's actually a really tough one. If Perez pulls it out,
Jenny looks like a genius.
Yeah.
Don't think that'll ever happen, me looking like a genius. Let you know who's on used tyres. Jack's already pretty much said it, but Hamilton used, Russell used, Alonso used, new set for Ocon, Norris is on used, and Albon is on used.
10 minutes and 15 seconds to go. Verstappen on pole here last year, Hamilton the year before, Leclerc the year before that, and then Hamilton the previous 2 seasons. So Verstappen looking for back-to-back poles in Belgium. Less than 10 minutes on the clock. Alex Albon will be the first driver to start a flying lap, but even if Verstappen does take pole, he won't be starting from the front of the grid, nor will Leclerc, who remains in the pit lane at the moment. So that's an interesting one for Leclerc to still be in the pits, maybe just doing one run, but not towing Sainz around, although he looks as though he's going to go out in that middle gap. He's got a brand new set of soft tyres on, so maybe he's just going to do the one run in the middle and then try and tow Sainz at the end.
Yeah, they like to drop them out into it, don't they? So they're not compromising their lap totally. So their warm-up lap is in effect the one that tows around the other driver, and then their fast lap, they're not compromised. If that makes sense.
They might even be able to, I don't think they can quite work it so they tow each other, but
they might well do.
What, so
what,
what,
part of the lap.
So what, Sainz on his in-lap tows Leclerc,
yeah,
and then Leclerc on his in-lap tows Sainz. That's what we're saying. Interesting. 8 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock. Here's some Leclerc radio.
Wait, what are these tyres?
Sorry, it's a mistake.
Oh.
They've put him out on the used tyres. He was meant to be on a new set of tyres. Ferrari put him out on used.
No, hang on. They were new.
Nope.
They were new, weren't they?
I thought they looked new.
Yeah, they were definitely new.
Oh.
When he left the pit lane.
So they mean to put him out
on a used.
On a used.
Maybe they meant to put him out on a used.
My graphic hasn't updated yet.
So does that mean that if he goes out again later that he doesn't have a set of new to fight with later, or
maybe for the race he'll have one less set of new tyres? But whatever.
Ferrari have made a mistake again.
My only other we don't know when that radio message came from. You know what I mean? That could have come in the garage and then they changed them in the garage, so they are on the correct tyres now, potentially. So we'll keep an eye on it. Verstappen is on a lap anyway as he comes down into the bus stop chicane. Perez actually is coming through the bus stop chicane first and out across the line, and it's a 1:44.462 for Sergio Perez. So he finds a decent chunk of time there. Here comes Verstappen. He goes faster, by 0.8 of a second.
Let me know what do I do with these tyres.
Copy. So we will do the lap.
Okay.
So we do the lap.
Yes, confirm we do the lap.
So it is a brand new way of messing things up from Ferrari, this time putting Leclerc out on the wrong set of tyres. Ocon across the line, and he goes 4th quickest. Sainz has managed to get ahead of Perez then. So Sainz second. He's on provisional pole, essentially. Back into the pits comes Fernando Alonso. Has he had a slow lap out there, Alonso? Has he...
No, I think he was on a set of used softs, Jack, and he's obviously used it as a sighter. He knows that lap time is not going to be his quickest, so you might as well come in.
So, Ferrari, goodness me. I mean, the point is, this is not like a make or break issue in this particular circumstance. It's not going to be a defining moment but it's just another bizarre operational error.
And so public to come over the radio and say we've made a mistake. Everyone's just going, well, of course you have, your Ferrari. I mean, the fans have gone crazy.
Come on. Binotto will say after this session they meant to put these tyres on anyway. Less than 0.4 down on Max Verstappen after the first sector. Leclerc now coming down into Bruxelles. Through the long right-hander that then flicks him left into Speaker's Corner. 6 minutes to go. He's coming down to Pouon. Bit of traffic ahead, but it keeps nicely out of the way as he just lifts. Even a little dab on the brake there as he came into the left-hander of Pouon. Now to Pif Paf, where he spun off in free practice earlier on today. Neat and tidy this time through for Leclerc. How far away is he from Max Verstappen. Has a little correct coming into Stabilo. He's 7/10 down. So he's going to be slower than his teammate Carlos Sainz here, Charles Leclerc. Maybe slower than Sergio Perez as well. Definitely going to be slower than Max Verstappen. He's not getting towed either by Carlos Sainz at the moment, as he gets onto the brakes. Through the right at the bus stop, through the left at the bus stop, and out across the line. And Leclerc goes into 4th place. Slowest of the 4 front runners, 0.8 of a second, almost 9/10 away from Max Verstappen. Verstappen, Sainz, Perez, Leclerc, the top 4. Ocon 5th, Norris 6th, Russell, Albon, Hamilton, the top 9.
So everybody, the fight for pole is not Max Verstappen, although he will more than likely end the session in 1st place. What everybody needs to be looking out for is Sainz versus Perez. Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc obviously have their grid penalties to take, so the 2 cars to look out for are the 2, let's call them number 2 drivers from Ferrari and Red Bull. Right now, advantage Ferrari.
Sainz in that 2nd place, Perez in that 3rd spot. 4 minutes and 17 seconds to go.
I always think this part of qualifying is when there is most pressure on the drivers. Pressure that Verstappen seems to just soak up. Leclerc as well, at his best, can absolutely absorb that. He's got 7 pole positions so far this season. But when it comes to Perez and Sainz, who out of those 2 can deal with this pressure? The pressure that is a pole position for your team in front of 100,000 fans. This is the time when you have to step up, eh?
What's the most pressure you've ever felt before a race? Was there like one that stands
pressure
out?
Before a race?
Or before quali, or was any that sort of stand out?
You know, I lost the GP2 championship in Abu Dhabi. That was fairly spectacular of me to lose my head like that. I'd say before a race was, the GP2.
Yeah.
I'd say during a race, most pressure was Buenos Aires.
season 2.
Yep. So yeah, two very different feelings though. Before a race, it's far more difficult to be in control of that pressure. It takes a lot more mental strength. In the car, I know exactly what I'm doing and it's okay. So it's very, very different psychology.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. 3 minutes to go in this final part of qualifying. The battle for pole position for the Belgian Grand Prix. And Verstappen is quickest, Sainz is 2nd, Perez is 3rd, Leclerc is 4th, Ocon is 5th, Norris, Russell, Albon, Hamilton and Alonso are the top 10 at the moment as the cars filter their way out of the pit lane onto the circuit. Jenny.
Albon does have a new set of soft tyres and he is on them right now. Be fascinating to see what he can do out there in that Williams.
Yeah, I would imagine, well, maybe apart from Leclerc, they'll all be on soft tyres, brand new soft tyres now for their final runs in Q3. Leclerc has returned to the pit lane. Verstappen is in the pits as well, getting ready to head out. Sainz, interesting that Sainz and Perez have gone out sort of away from Verstappen. Was that the wheel?
Sorry, Max
off?
Verstappen is not going to be taking part.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think he's going to do any more, is he, Max Verstappen? So he's going to stay in the pit lane.
Another one that doesn't care about the statistics then.
This is very Sebastian Vettel, Singapore, 2000 and what was it, 13?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Would you not go out and tow Perez? Meh.
I mean, I'm surprised that he's not been told to.
Yeah.
But Max does his own thing. He's fighting for the World Championship, so yeah.
Well, Leclerc is in the pits as well.
All 3 of them have decided not to go. The 3 guys that have got back of the grid starts, Norris, Leclerc and Verstappen, none of them going out. So they're going to let the others have a fair fight, keep out the way and just go for it.
They're also probably in that point of thinking, well, Verstappen's not going to get beaten by Leclerc whatever happens. Leclerc won't be able to beat Verstappen whatever happens. Norris won't be able to beat Leclerc whatever happens. So they actually haven't got anything to achieve here.
The other thing that's a bit of a shame is Max Verstappen's done an absolute worldie of a lap there.
Yeah.
Yet it'll never be remembered because he's not going to be on pole at the end of the day.
No.
That could have been one of the best laps that we've seen. It's 8 tenths clear of everybody. and yet it will not be remembered as a pole position. It's a shame.
Yeah, I don't disagree. 50 seconds on the clock. Albon's on a lap at the moment, coming through the middle sector. There's a bit of squabbling for track position further back.
This is because the Alpines want to tow each other. Ocon has got a grid penalty. He's out there on used tyres. I think he's looking to try and tow Alonso.
Yeah, indeed. So Sainz versus Perez is going to be the battle. It'll be for a net second place. Leclerc has just left the pit lane now, so he is going to give Sainz a tow down the Kemmel Straight, potentially. Sainz is on the braking zone into the first corner. It'll either be down the Kemmel. There he is now, yeah. So Leclerc emerges from the pit lane, and Carlos Sainz gets a tow up through Eau Rouge and down the Kemmel Straight towards Les Combes. Alex Albon comes across the line now, and the Williams driver does a 1 minute 45.8, so he gets ahead of Lando Norris at the moment. Neat tow work from Ferrari, although Sainz is 3 tenths down in the first sector and not actually improving. Hamilton and Alonso are, Perez is as well, so Perez is 2 tenths up on Sainz after the first sector. A little bit of a correction as he comes through Bruxelles for Carlos Sainz, but he's not exactly flying here at the moment. But if neither of them improve, it will be Sainz on pole. Into Pouhon. Whoa, that's quick from Sainz through Pouhon. No lifting or little dab of the brakes through there for Carlos Sainz, but again, neither he nor Perez are finding a huge amount of time, and he's in the gravel. Carlos Sainz, he manages to keep going just about, dips a wheel in on the exit of the pit path. He's now 7 tenths down on Verstappen. I don't think he's going to improve here, so it's all about whether Perez can improve. He comes through the middle sector, so 45.2, he's a second down on Verstappen. I don't think Perez has got anything either. I think it's going to be Carlos Sainz who will start on pole position, as neither of them improve on their final runs. Verstappen is going to be quickest. Through the final 2 corners comes Carlos Sainz across the line, doesn't improve, goes half a second slower than he managed previously. And I think Perez is going to be a similar story. Here he comes out across the line, and Perez remains in 3rd place. So Sainz will start on pole position. Alonso jumps up into 6th position. Both Alpines get ahead of both Mercedes. Hamilton 7th, Russell 8th. 9th for Alex Albon, 10th for Lando Norris. Applause in the Red Bull garage because they sort of take pole position with Verstappen, but it is actually Carlos Sainz who will start at the front of the field for the Belgian Grand Prix tomorrow. Neither of them improved, Sainz and Perez at the end.
Really surprising. With the track evolution that we saw in Q1 and in Q2, I expected there to be a couple of tenths. But I've got to say, what a magnificent display yet again from Max Verstappen. To be that far ahead is scintillating.
Yeah, absolutely. Sainz was looking loose the whole lap, really, and then it wasn't actually that dramatic in the end when he went wide at Piff Paff. From the angle we saw it, it all kicked up everywhere. It was a bit less dramatic in the car.
Yeah, we were in the barrier looking from behind, and it looked spectacular. I was expecting to see a car in the barrier on the left because we couldn't see where the car was, but it was okay. I don't think he would have actually lost any time. So, yeah, just not a clean lap to end, but he's got the job done. Carlos Sainz will start tomorrow's Belgian Grand Prix from pole position.
Are you gonna give it a go, Jenny?
I'm going to give it a go.
Okay.
Please bear with me if this isn't 100% right, but I've tried my hardest to bring you what will be the grid tomorrow. Team Radio.
So, P3.
Yeah, it was all a mess. And then they just stopped at the end.
That's the front row for tomorrow, Checo. P2, good place to be. Well done.
Yep. Let's get there tomorrow.
Say it was a mess out there or something. I couldn't quite make it out.
Something was a mess.
Let's hear it, Jenny.
Okay, so Sainz will be on pole for tomorrow's race with Perez alongside him. Sainz.
Yeah, thank you for the teamwork. That definitely helped.
I think the toe definitely helped, says Sainz. Here we go.
Alonso in 3rd, 4th Hamilton, 5th Russell, followed by in 6th place Alexander Albon in a Williams, 7th Ricciardo, 8th Gasly, In P9, it will be Stroll, 10 Vettel, 11 Latifi, 12 Magnussen, 13 Tsunoda, Bottas in 14th, the first of the drivers with a penalty. And then it will be Verstappen in 15th, 16th for Leclerc, 17th for Ocon, Norris in 18th place, Zhou in 19th, and last but not least, Schumacher in 20th. Let's see. Don't clip that up and play it tomorrow, because it'll be totally wrong.
Max Verstappen has just come in to have a look at the timing screens and have a chat with
6 tenths ahead. With 1 run.
Lando Norris. So I think that's Norris saying you're 6 tenths ahead,
and he said, "I only did 1 run."
Yeah.
I think he's quite. I think he's very happy with that. He seems happy with that.
He's on quite a weekend here, Max Verstappen. The dominance is remarkable so far. We'll be hearing from him, Sainz and Sergio Perez in a couple of moments' time.
It's his 4th pole position only of the season. Maybe his most dominant and maybe his easiest. I mean, he and the car just look incredible.
Yeah, he's not on pole position.
Irony.
It's really ironic, that, isn't it? It's one of the best laps he's done all year, yet he won't be starting on pole.
Ferrari's pace has gone a bit, hasn't it, here? I mean, maybe this is quite a sort of straight line speed specific circuit, and Ferrari don't quite have as much in the corners to kind of make up for the straight line speeds, but yeah, not ideal. It's not quite as disastrous for Ferrari as when, was it the year before last, when they were having their engine problems and they were suddenly 17th and 18th on the grid or something here around Monza. But let's hear from the top 3, Sergio Perez, Carlos Sainz, and starting with Max Verstappen, who has secured pole position for the Red Bull team. He won't be starting there. He'll be starting 15th on the grid, but he has set the quickest lap time with a tremendous lap, and he's talking to Naomi Schiff after securing pole for the Belgian Grand Prix. Any moment now. All right, here we go. Naomi.
Max, massive congratulations. That was an incredible lap, over 6 tenths to Sainz in front of your home crowd. How did it feel?
Yeah, it was amazing qualifying, but I think already the whole weekend, we've been on it. Car's been working really well and just basically trying to fine-tune it, and it all came together in qualifying. Of course, I had to be a bit careful with the amount of tyres I was using. Also looking for tomorrow, starting in the back. But yeah, very happy with my lap, and it's great to be here. It's an amazing track, amazing fans around. Yeah, I hope they had a good day.
Well, you mentioned it there. A lot of penalties on the grid tomorrow. You'll be starting 15th with Charles hot on your heels, but with such a comfortable lead in the championship, how do you approach tomorrow's race?
We need to move forward. I think especially with a car like this, it would be a shame not to be on the podium.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
Carlos, congratulations. You've been promoted to first grid spot tomorrow. How was that lap for you?
It was okay. I mean, happy to be starting on pole. Obviously not so happy to see the gap to Max this weekend and the gap that Red Bull has on us. We need to keep digging, to see why Red Bull is so fast around this track and why we are trailing them. But to start from pole is a good place to start, and we will try and win from there tomorrow.
Well, there seemed to be a real team effort there on the last lap, but it just didn't make the difference. How do you plan to stay ahead of Checo in tomorrow's race?
Yeah, my Q3 round 1 was cleaner. Both the outlap was a bit of a mess, playing with the toes, see who wanted to lead. In the end, I had to lead, and I had no toe, and I had to take the lead there. But in general, it was a bit of a mess, and the first lap was good enough for P2, which I knew was going to give me the pole. But yeah, still a bit puzzled, to see this big gap to Max and to see the big gap to Red Bull, which makes me wonder what's going to happen tomorrow in the race, because I think our race pace is a bit better than our quali pace, but there's definitely something there to find.
Well, first grid spot is certainly worth something to smile about. Congratulations and good luck tomorrow. Sergio, well done today. Tomorrow you'll be starting on the front row of the grid. What are your expectations tomorrow?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, P2 is not the worst place to be around here, and I think if I'm able to get a good run, through Carlos, and it can be different. I can be on the other side of the road. So yeah, looking forward for tomorrow. I think there will be a great race ahead of us.
There's a lot of penalties on the grid, but you certainly are in the best position here to gain an opportunity. You're just 5 points behind Charles, so how do you maximize that tomorrow? Yeah, it will be very important, to get a good start and try to do our own race from the beginning, and I think that will be the key for tomorrow. Okay, well, we wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
So Sergio Perez will start in second, Carlos Sainz will start in first place, and the man who got pole, well, he'll start back in 15th for Verstappen. How long, Jack, until he's challenging his teammate and running down on Sainz?
Lap 21.
There we go. Join us for the race. It gets underway at 2 o'clock tomorrow. This has been an IMG production for BBC Radio 5 Live.